Why You Never Became a Dancer is an unofficial music video that has long been considered a classic from the darker corners of YouTube. It has gained over 4 million views and is infamous for its disturbing visuals and unsettling atmosphere. The video features a heavily distorted image of a woman, animated with random snippets of conversation. All of this plays against the backdrop of a song by the band, White House. The track was inspired by the 1995 film of the same name, in which Tracey Emin shared her personal account of sexual assault. However, the song controversially casts doubt on her story. With that context, one central mystery remains. Who is the woman in the footage, and where did the image come from? For years, people attempted reverse image searches with no success. Even the Japanese website zetuburo.com, which catalogs internet mysteries, failed to uncover the photo's origin. The breakthrough came when a viewer sent the site an edited photo of the woman by email. It turned out to have been taken from a book about Japanese serial killer Kiyoshu Kubo. The woman was identified as Reiko Tokimura, one of his 8 victims. To this day, no one knows exactly which book the picture was published in, but it's very likely that this image was the direct source for the creepy music video. The discovery didn't solve the mystery. It only deepened it, opening new avenues of speculation. 彼は8人にも上る若い女性を暴行殺害していたのだ。What started as a bizarre and eerie YouTube upload has since evolved into one of the internet's darkest puzzles, where true crime, rumor, and horror collide. In 2007, the previously unknown Sombrini twins suddenly appeared on a small radio station in San Juan Province, Argentina. Their fame flared up almost overnight, and just as quickly faded away. What drew attention to them wasn't a soap opera scandal, but a dark and unsettling story that today is regarded as one of the most chilling legends of lost media. The brothers, Vicente and Paul, were raised solely by their mother. Their father, Fernando, had always dreamed of a family, but years of unsuccessful attempts to have children pushed him into despair. When Luciana finally gave birth to twins, he was overjoyed, yet his happiness was short-lived. Only months later, he died in a tragic accident during a trip to Chile. 15 years later, the sons returned to his old home and stumbled upon a box of videotapes. On those recordings, their father, broken by the weight of childlessness, could be seen building a replacement for the son he thought he would never have. A grotesque doll made of rags, wires, scraps of wood, and even animal remains. He dressed it in children's clothes, spoke to it as though it were alive, and with each tape his tone shifted, from gentle and paternal to disturbingly cruel, and at times, frighteningly intimate. The brothers could not bring themselves to finish watching. They left the house forever, abandoning many of the tapes. The full recordings were never made public. Only a single still frame has surfaced online, fueling endless speculation and obsessive searches. What Fernando's archive truly contained remains a mystery, and a haunting example of lost media. Anatoli Slivkco was active in the Soviet Union between 1964 and 1985. During these 2 decades, he became obsessed with recreating an incident he had witnessed as a young man. In his early 20s, he once saw a driver plow into a group of pedestrians, taking the life of a teenage boy who happened to be wearing a young pioneer's uniform. That single event left a lasting mark on him. From then on, he sought out boys in order to reenact the scene. It was disturbingly easy for him, as he ran a children's club. After befriending boys who were usually on the smaller side, he would convince them to wear the young pioneer's uniform and participate in what he described as a controlled hanging experiment, supposedly designed to stretch their spines. Slivkco reassured them that he would revive them afterward, but tragically, that wasn't always the case. Over the years, his actions resulted in the deaths of 7 boys, although he carried out these so-called experiments on 43 in total. Incredibly, 36 of them were revived. Throughout this time, he obsessively filmed and photographed his disturbing sessions, developing the footage himself in a home laboratory. The recordings and photos later served as chilling evidence of the extent of his actions. Some of this disturbing material was even broadcast on television and featured in various documentary programs, shocking the public and revealing just how far his obsession had gone. In 1989, Slivkco was finally arrested. Soon after, he was sentenced and executed for his crimes, bringing a grim end to one of the Soviet Union's most unsettling cases. For many, his death was seen as the only fitting conclusion for someone who had caused so much tragedy. In the early 1990s, Estonian children were introduced to a colorful new friend, Odo Trin. The woolen dinosaur from the imaginary land of Misumasu quickly became a household name. He hosted events, visited schools, appeared on milk cartons and chocolate bars, and even released music cassettes. For a while, Odo Trin seemed like the perfect symbol of childhood joy. But behind the bright smile of the mascot, something darker was unfolding. By the late 1990s, every trace of Odo Trin's show was erased. The episodes weren't just shelved, they were deliberately destroyed, as if someone wanted the series to disappear from existence. The character had been created for Estonia's TV3 channel by performer Leno Lusar, who also wore the costume. With Odo Trin's growing popularity, it seemed nothing could stop the franchise. Until tragedy struck. In 1998, the show's producer, Tanu Pavu, caused a car accident that claimed the lives of a woman and her young daughter. His family was also injured. The highly publicized trial that followed tainted the reputation of everyone tied to the show. Soon after, TV3 abruptly canceled Odo Trin, scrubbing it entirely from its archives. But the question remains, why erase every single episode? Lusar tried to move on, launching another children's program called Yala Siapia. Unlike Odo Trin, its episodes survive online to this day. For a while, he was celebrated as one of Estonia's most recognizable children's entertainers. But in 2021, everything changed. Lusar was accused of serious offenses involving a minor and of owning prohibited digital material. During a police raid, officers also uncovered an unregistered weapon. Lusar insisted he was innocent, claiming he had no inappropriate interests and that his soul was clean. But in December 2021, he was convicted and sentenced to 5 years in prison. Today, Odo Trin is remembered not as a joyful children's mascot, but as one of the most disturbing cases of lost media in Eastern Europe. Almost nothing survives, just 2 short clips, a pair of recipe segments, and rumors of a single high-quality episode that resurfaced during TV3's 20th anniversary in 2016, only to vanish again soon after. What was once seen as harmless fun for Estonian children has now become a ghost of television history, a reminder that sometimes the brightest smiles can hide the darkest secrets. This is an old lost media video from Japan, of unknown origin, that appears to showcase a new military development. Camouflage clothing has long existed in armies around the world, but what's shown here is something entirely different. The footage looks like a top-secret promotional reel that somehow leaked online many years later. It has been taken down multiple times, yet it continues to resurface, allowing people to catch a glimpse. What it depicts is the sale of specialized military equipment designed to make a soldier literally disappear. At this point, we see a Japanese soldier covered in a reflective material engineered to bend light around the body, rendering him almost completely invisible. The video describes the materials used to construct this reflective suit, as well as the principles behind its function. After the explanation, the soldier demonstrates the suit in action. When he moves, you can still faintly see him, but when he stands perfectly still, he vanishes entirely. It's hard to tell whether this is clever editing or a genuine piece of military technology. If it's real, one can only assume the technology has advanced far beyond what is shown in this old promotional film, perhaps to the point where even a moving soldier could disappear without a trace. Who this promotional video was made for, and why it ever surfaced online, remains a mystery. Noah's Ark is a 1928 feature film based on the famous biblical story. The film is most notorious for a scene during which, as reported, 3 actors drowned and another was seriously injured. That same sequence nearly claimed the life of a 19-year-old John Wayne, who was working as an extra at the time. You can clearly see the performers struggling against the raging torrent, fighting not for the camera, but for their lives. It's important to note that this tragedy directly led to the introduction of stricter safety regulations for stunt work in Hollywood. In the footage you see here, the actors aren't pretending. They are genuinely terrified. When the film premiered in New York, it ran for 135 minutes. The movie was sharply criticized for its poor sound quality, as well as the infamous flood sequence. In response, about 35 minutes of footage were cut for the wide release. The longer version of the flood scene was reportedly even more disturbing, and is said to have included shots of actors drowning on screen. Today, only the 100-minute release version survives. The original New York premiere cut has not been seen since its debut, and the missing 35 minutes are considered lost. If that footage still exists, it is most likely locked away in the New York Film Archives, and unlikely ever to be released due to the on-screen deaths it contains. Mitr Chaibancha was an actor from Thailand who is often referred to as an icon of the nation's golden age of cinema. While his name remains virtually unknown outside the country, at home he was a true superstar, appearing in leading roles in nearly half of the roughly 100 films produced each year during the peak of the Thai film industry. In 1970, work began on a film that would ultimately become the last of his career. This project was especially significant, as it marked the first time Mitr both produced and directed a film himself. On October 8, 1970, the final day of shooting, the crew prepared to film the climactic scene. The hero climbing a rope ladder lowered from a helicopter and flying off into the sunset like a true action star. But during filming, a tragic mistake occurred. The helicopter hovered too high above the ground, and Mitr could grasp only the very bottom rung of the ladder. As the aircraft began to ascend, Mitr was left dangling helplessly with nothing else to hold on to. The pilot, unaware of the danger, continued to climb higher. After struggling for a short while, Mitr lost his grip and fell to the ground, dying instantly on impact. His death delivered a devastating blow to Thai cinema, coming only a few months after the sudden passing of pioneering filmmaker Ratana Pestanji, who had died of a heart attack. The tragedy was compounded by the fact that cameras were rolling and captured Mitr's fatal fall in full. When the film was first released in theaters in 1970, a controversial decision was made to include the footage of his death in the final cut. However, for the later DVD release, those scenes were entirely removed. The sequence ended as the helicopter began its ascent. In their place, the film showed alternate helicopter shots, followed by a title card dedicating the picture to Mitr's memory. Since then, the footage of Mitr's fall has never again been shown to the public, and it is unlikely ever to be released, both out of moral considerations and as a gesture of respect for the actor's legacy.